Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost.
Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-579-6184. That's 800-579-6184. What do you have to lose? Call 800-579-6184. Again, 800-579-6184.
You flew the trap on 6. You birdied 12 and 13. You closed out the match 4 and 3. From your numbers to your windows, everything was dialed. That was yesterday. Outperform your best. Titleist, the #1 ball in golf.
Coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Caught! Touch the pylon! Touchdown Atlanta!
You're listening to Sirius XM NFL Radio, Channel 88.
Conan O'Brien Radio on Sirius XM. You'll find my delightful Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast, highlights from my late night shows, showcasing some of the most absurd and hilarious moments from my decades on television.
Come on, man, settle down. This is a serious TV show.
Plus, dive deep into 28 years of late night memories and behind the scenes with Inside Conan. Conan O'Brien Radio, only on Sirius XM.
To hear Conan O'Brien Radio, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800.
R&B and hip-hop that's hot now. Discover who's next. And stay up on the culture.
Cause Drake don't know how to kiss and not tell.
On the heat.
Girl, your BB is a zero. Backshot sound like bongo.
Channel 46 and on the Sirius XM app. Included in all trials and popular plans.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, that's nice. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, that's nice.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018148868.
Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $833 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vini Vini Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Johnny of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, of the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me, and people who love the universe, and that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood on the beautiful. It is January the 4th, in 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord split you. As well as driving a fleet of Cadillac cars all over the universe, if that makes sense to you. What a beautiful day in Dimdare Hills, California. So many people loving the sunshine. Just a couple of days after New Year's sunshine in sunny California. A little bit of rain splattered in with sunshine. But just like Gumbo, You're going to have all those different flavors mixing in to give you a great sunshiny day. It's a beautiful day in Dimder Hills, California. I want to say I'm the only sports show in the universe. I want to give praise to that talks about reparations, and I will always do that until I have that money in my pocket. But you got to be careful. There are times when I talk to friends about reparations and some want to argue with me. I said, there's nothing to argue about. You get what you get. If you don't really get anything, then why argue with you if you think you don't get anything? Well, let me explain to me why you think I'm going to get something. I say, you probably not. That makes sense to you. Man, you can only talk to so many people. Give that some praise. You can follow Big C Sports on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Good Spots Podcast, Amazon Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, and Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. You can also find us on YouTube, Luminary Podcast, Podtail, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Pod Day, River Podcast, Podcast Prodigy, Podcast Republic, and one that used to scare me, but now it doesn't. It's allfeast.ai. Give that some praise. The robots are trying to take over, but we're going to say like Teddy said, he said, turn them off! He meant it when he said, turn off the lights, and light a candle. You see, there's something I can want to do to you, baby! And when you don't turn off the lights, he said, turn them off! We got to turn off those robots because they really are trying to take over. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast streaming OTT on 4 TV podcast platforms all over the universe. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. I want to tell you what I love about Big C Sports Podcast is we have a Veterans Crisis Hotline, and they really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones. If you know anybody going through issues, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give it some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. And it's nice leaning on somebody when somebody's leaning back, if that makes sense to you. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. Some people don't like the fact that sometimes I don't know my Bible as well as I think I do. But all fair level work. With Big C Sports, number 1, I always produce the show. Number 2, I direct the topics. Number 3, I broadcast all the shows. Number 4, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter. I know I could use more laughter in my life. And then, as I tell you, the commercials are done. The stats are provided. The storytelling, even the play-by-play. Number 9, I upload the show. It goes out to 29 podcast platforms. Number 10, I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports with the crew. Back in the days of Salem Media, that tells me something that long ago in a galaxy far, far away, that there was a show called Big C Sports. If that makes sense to you. But I love what I'm doing. I love so much about being able to be at the vanguard of things that are happening in Dimder Hills, California. I also want to thank some of my sponsors. I want to thank T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want to give that some praise. I hopefully they can give me another free phone. I also want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want $6 million. I'm not shucking and jiving. I want the $6 million. I tell you, I've been so just running around, ripping and running the last couple of days. My energy is not what it normally is tonight, but that's okay. What did Two Live Crew say at his last concert? He said, tonight's the night. It's gonna be all right. That's not Two Live Crew, Big C. That's Rod Stewart. Well, you understand it is. They understand there's the same meaning, if that makes sense to you. But I love saying things that are important to me, because we all have to have something that's important that we can talk about. I want to thank This Is CNN, proud sponsors of Big C Sports Podcast. At the same time, I want to make sure I pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and so is their vote. They had a unanimous decision to pass reparations in California. I'm going to get into Senate Bill SB 90 that California Senator Stephen Bradford has introduced. But I want to make sure that, unlike a lot of other people, I want to talk about things that are important to society, the black society, especially when it comes to reparations. Some people feel that if we treat black people fair, that it's going to cause a division in our society, a division among people. Well, if slavery didn't cause a division among people who hate black people for getting reparations, why in the world would we care if they feel that there's a division caused by reparations being paid to descendants of chattel slavery? I had a black woman tell me, well, she doesn't believe in reparations because our country's already divided. And how are white people going to feel if black people get all this money? What? And here she is working for a paycheck. How are they going to feel when you get paid for work you do? Every company or every country that's received reparations, who cares how other people feel? If you're adversarial to me getting paid what's owed to me, well, slavery lasted a long time ago. People got to understand, when you bequeath land and resources and insurance policies to future generations, black Americans, they were robbed of that. They never got a chance to get that from 1619 to 1865. You could not insure the loss of your life and have your family as beneficiaries. Now, the slaveholders, they can insure the slave, but you have people, black people today, that call themselves college educated, or educated, if I may say that, and going to try to argue with me why we don't deserve reparations because slavery happened a long time ago. I asked her, do you have a life insurance policy? She said, yeah, I have a life insurance policy. I said, tear it up! Why would I tear it up? Because nobody should get anything that they didn't work for. If you want to name a beneficiary, why would you give them your life insurance beneficiary when the payout when you pass on if they didn't work for it? Well, because I choose to take care of my child. Yeah, but if your child didn't work, why would your child get the money? You're telling me that ancestry that had black children and they were forbidden to have life insurance policies. But you know who were not forbidden? The white slave owners that owned them. And when those white slave owners owned them, when they died, they had beneficiaries called their children. And with the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. It adds up. But it could not add up for black families. And as a black woman telling me today that she doesn't believe that black people should get reparations because it may offend white people, who got the freaking reparations through the Homestead Act. They got the reparations through having life insurance and land and property bequeathed to them. They got it already. And you got some black people saying, well, we don't want to make the white people upset if we get what was owed to us. Go back and tell every white person that ever got an inheritance, give it back! And see if they call you a fool. That's what I'm saying. As descendants of chattel slavery, not everybody who's African American is going to get reparations, because some of them have been so brainwashed they don't believe they deserve anything. Because what if it makes white people upset? Ask those white people that you don't want to make upset, have they ever gotten an inheritance? Have they ever gotten land or property or housing bequeathed to them? Ask them that. The answer is yes. Did they get upset? Did it upset black people? It's none of our business what somebody gave their children or their family members when they bequeathed it to them. But that's something that, to me, I don't have to overcome it. But you do realize there are people who are just intellectually vapid. And here they are going to say, we don't deserve anything from our ancestry, but has a life insurance policy, so when she passes on, her beneficiaries will get something. Isn't that an oxymoron? It's just crazy. But you know what's more crazy? That I had a conversation that went about a minute more than it should have. When she said, when I said I'm working with the California Reparations to get with the task force and the National Black Wall Street Project, she said, explain to me how you're going to get, we ain't going to get nothing. I said, hey, well, that's fine. That's your opinion. She said, well, explain to me how we going to get something. I said, I don't want to explain nothing to you. I said, just read Senate Bill 490. Yeah, but what's that mean? I said, read it for yourself. Read it for yourself. There's nothing to talk about. Yeah, but let me explain to you why I think. I don't care what you think. I just want to ask you, read it for yourself, and I got to go because I got a call coming through. Give heaven a call coming through, some praise. Oh my God, when you think you're gonna at least just elucidate the subject. Don't even know that AB 490 exists. Don't even know that Executive Order 13985 exists. Don't even know what HR 40 is. Don't even know what Senate Bill SB 3121 is. But going to argue that it doesn't exist. I felt like it gave me a headache. How do you deal with someone who just wants to argue? Argue all the time about everything. Run! My God, gave me a headache and I'm still irritated. I don't want to be irritated. Give me some praise for getting over it. I had to get it out of my system. A black woman want to tell me how she doesn't deserve reparations, but she got a life insurance policy for her child when she passes on. I mean, some people just don't want to make the white people. What white people? More white people that voted for it. Reparations than black folks are right now, it seems, at least publicly. We so busy wanting to watch the game. And light the beam! Light the beam! Did you get the new Jordans? If we had as many black folks that are concerned with reparations as there are buying a new pair of Jordans, you know that would probably already would have happened? We'll stand in line, not we, because I'm not part of it. People will stand around the block to get a pair of shoes. Shoes! It's got to be the shoes, money. But reparations, sometimes people are so brainwashed and beaten over the head, like the Willie Lynch letter said, they don't even believe what's in the Senate. They don't even believe what's being debated in Congress. They don't even believe what's in the California legislature. And want to try to explain to somebody who's been involved in this stuff for about 5 years now, well, explain to me how it's going to work. I'm not going to explain nothing to you. I want to thank the California Reparations. What's the California Reparations Task Force, Big C? Google it, as I told the young lady. Explain to me how it's going to... I ain't explaining nothing to you. I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force because a mine is really a terrible thing to waste when a black lady thinks we don't need reparations because it's going to make white people who don't already like you mad. If they don't already like you, why do you care? I know so many people that are Caucasian that got money handed down to them from family, life insurance policy, land, real estate, heirlooms. People have wills that transfer property from person to person to the beneficiaries. And then, man, let me shut up because I don't, give shut up some praise, Big C. I want to give some praise to the California Reparations Task Force, the chair, Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She's an attorney that specializes in reparative justice, but some people get mad that she specializes in reparative justice. I want to thank Dr. Amos C. Brown, the vice chair. He's brilliant. I want to thank California Senator Stephen Bradford, the #1 senator in the United States of America. He's brilliant. He also championed AB 490. Going to be talking to him soon and meeting with his office. He also sponsored name, image, and likeness that helps college athletes get paid. Oh, they're never going to pay college athletes. I said, people said the same thing that they're saying with name, image, and likeness, NIL. There were many people like you that said, oh, it's never going to happen. Now you have athletes that are college athletes that are making $1 million based on their name, image, and likeness. Not everybody, but the ones who can capitalize on their name, image, and likeness, they're doing that. Oh, I don't believe that's true. Doesn't matter what you believe. You might believe the world is not round. There are people who think the world is flat. Like water just running off the edge of it into space. All's fair in level work, called gravity. But at the same thing, the gravity of the situation, California Senator Stephen Bradford, he also sponsored the Ebony Alert. What's the Ebony Alert? It's a bill that was necessary because law enforcement pours more resources into the Amber Alert that finds white children than they did in finding black children. And now because of this brilliant man, Senator Stephen Bradford, they're putting the same amount of resources into finding black children as they do in finding white children. Well, why do they need more than one alert, Big C? Because law enforcement hasn't treated black people and white people the same. If you don't believe that, Google Jim Crow laws, black codes, pig laws, gerrymandering, redlining. I mean, sometimes to talk to someone that appears to be bright, but intellectually vapid, it actually gave me a headache. It made me feel foolish. Who's more foolish, Big C? The fool or the person talking to the fool? I guess I was a fool. All's fair in love and war, but I'm going to change that. I want to give Senator Stephen Bradford some praise because as hard as he's working to help people who look like him, Some people don't even believe they deserve it. Just crazy to me. I want to thank Council Member Monica Montgomery Steppe. She's brilliant. Also, I love giving her praise. I want to thank and give praise to Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Gross. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. Why is he a professor? Some people don't learn anything anyway. Yeah, I learned my lesson today. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, who's part of the California Reparations Task Force. As a Japanese descendant, he got reparations. Oh, I believe reparations going to happen. Well, the man's on the task force and he got reparations. I want to give him some praise. My goodness, I had to get that out of my system. You can only sit on the toilet so much before you flush it. Sometimes you got to flush people out of your mind. My goodness, I got a headache thinking about that person who tried to be, well, let me explain something to you. I don't want you to explain nothing to me. I got a call on the other line. I got to take this call. Well, call me back. I ain't calling you back. My goodness. Whoa. You know, life is something else. No matter how hard we work, how hard we try, there are times when the people who are the biggest, I guess, opponents, they may look just like you. But it's sad to me when a middle-aged black woman says she doesn't think she deserves reparations because it might make white people mad. I ask her, do you ever hear the Homestead Act? Read it. What's the Homestead Act? Just read it and then tell me what you think of it. Well, what is it? Read it. She doesn't even know that the government gave white people tens of millions of acres of land. Over 300 million acres of land for free. And even white Europeans. And did they care if it made black people mad that they told us no? And now they're trying to repair the wrong. And this lady saying, well, we don't want them to repair the wrong. It might make them mad. What in the world? Jesus Christ! Give me some praise. My goodness, today's show's a little bit different because I got to get some more rest. And I feel encouraged. At the same time, there are so many people who are asleep that trying to wake them up, they say, why'd you wake me up? I was sleeping. Trying to get you a check. Oh, I don't believe no check. My goodness, I guess I learned my lesson. Well, at the same time, I want to thank the Associated Press. And I got an interview from Janie Hart, the Associated Press. She called me. It was right around March 30th, 2023. It was actually called me March 29th. And she asked me, she said, ring, ring, hello. Hi, this is Charlton. Yes, this is Charlton. How can I help you? Hi, this is Janie Hart, the Associated Press. I said, how'd you get my number? She said, oh, we have our ways. I said, what made you call me? She said, I heard you speak at a reparations task force. I said, okay, well, how can I help you? She said, I want to get your thoughts on reparations. I said, if you heard me speak, you know my thoughts. I believe in what President Abraham Lincoln said. I said, reparations now, reparations forever. Now, I know that might upset a colleague that I know. And that explained to me how this stuff is just a waste of time. It doesn't make any sense to me. But this story reported by NBC News. NBC News said Charlton Curry of Sacramento, California, who discusses reparations on his Big C Sports podcast, that cash payments are necessary, that money talks. And the fact that it's right there about to happen, I just want to give that praise because cynical people give me a headache. I don't want a headache. I just don't. But sometimes you think you want to talk to people and get them involved and let them know, and they tell you how they don't deserve what's coming to them. Well, when I get my money, just take it and give it to charity. No, you take it and give it to charity. I don't want to touch your money. Jesus Christ. Life is something else. Give me some praise. I got to get through it. I'm not perfect. I'm trying to get rid of this headache. That makes sense. Your life is so funny. But you know, in the United States of America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, we're getting ready for some football, getting ready for some basketball, getting ready for some baseball. But I'd be remiss if I was someone who was asleep. I don't really like sleep. I wish there was 48 hours in a day instead of 24 because we could do more. But that's a good thing too. I want to thank Double O. She's part of the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me Executive Order 13985 on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's called the White House. Isn't that something? I want to thank Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Rick Scott of Florida. They reintroduced, listen up, black lady, colleague. People think I was just white people. Listen up, black lady, my colleague. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida and Rick Scott of Florida, they reintroduced a bill to restore Holocaust survivors' rights. What? And it didn't even make me mad. I give it praise. It's amazing how some of our own people are so brainwashed, they think that if they get treated fairly, it's going to make somebody mad. Isn't that an indictment against white people, that if you get treated fairly, it's going to make them mad? What did Governor Wallace say? He says segregation now, segregation forever. And some people bought into that. This is something else that might make somebody mad. Georgetown University. Reparations. They were in an article back in September that they pledged over $1 billion to descendants of chattel slavery to 272 families because black families were being sold to pay off the debts for Georgetown. They were sold! You think that made white people mad that they were selling black children, men, women, and children, lynching them, murdering them, raping them? Did that make white people mad? If that don't make them mad, then why would they be mad? If it would have made them mad, they would have stopped it. We wouldn't have needed the Emancipation Proclamation. It didn't make them mad. Not every white person, but majority, they all benefited from it. Did it make them mad enough to stop? No, they didn't. Slavery lasted 1619 to 1865. Did it make black people mad when their mothers and fathers and children and husbands and wives were being lynched and murdered and sold off and raped by Massa and his clan? Did it make black people mad? Of course, it broke their heart. Did the masters stop anyway? Did the slave masters stop raping and pillaging and lynching and selling black children? Men, women, and children. Did they stop? No, they didn't stop. It took a civil war to end slavery. And you got some black people saying we don't want to get paid because, or she said she didn't want to get paid because it might make white people mad. Were they not mad through all the lynching and the raping and the selling off of children and the murdering of people just for wanting to read the Bible or learning to read or trying to run away for freedom? They've been lynched and captured, heads cut off, the ears cut off, genitals cut off. Did that make them mad? And you have some black women and men that are so brainwashed, they think, well, we have reparations, it's going to make white people mad. They didn't rise up as a group and stop it, as a country and stop it. They benefited from it. Even tacitly, they benefited from it. Even to this day. So that's something we got to overcome. What did Dr. King say? We shall overcome someday. A woman going to argue with me about why she doesn't believe in reparations. I said, don't worry about it. I got to take this phone call. Jesus Christ. At the same time, I got some more news to give you. Sent to me by Double O, National Payout Committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. The United Nations. You know, the United Nations, this might make some people mad. United Nations says that strong political leadership and political will are crucial to ensure reparatory justice for people of African descent. The United Nations! They recognize the wrong, but I feel for some of our brethren and sistren that's so brainwashed, they think they're going to make some white friends mad if they get treated fairly. Why? Just do away with the court system. When someone does you wrong, you shouldn't be able to sue them. It might make the person who did wrong mad. Why make the perpetrator mad? I saw it on news just last night. It was down in Las Vegas. There was a judge that had sentenced a man to some time because he was, I guess, a batterer. He was beating up somebody in the household. Maybe abusing his woman, his wife, girlfriend, whoever she was. And so the woman, smartly enough, she did what some people don't do. She called 911 and got his butt arrested. And this man came up to see if he could be released. And the judge said she's not gonna release him. Well, he jumps across the podium and grabs the judge by the hair and pulls her down to the ground and throws punches on her. While her security is sitting there watching it happen for about 2 or 3 seconds. And then he was fighting the bailiff. because he did something wrong. That's a note to you ladies out there. Any man touch you, go upside your head, why you want to spend time with him? So I admire the women that have the courage to say, hit me once, shame on you. You're not going to hit me twice. And so this man down in Vegas, he jumped across the podium where the judge was behind the bench. The bench had to be about 5 feet high. The man cleared it, so he probably jumped at least 6 feet in the air to get at the judge. Isn't that something? To get at the judge. Give the judge some praise for getting through and not letting that fool out. Because what if she would have said, you can go home and start beating up that same person you're beating up that got your butt arrested? And some women, they're so foolish, they'll still do with a man that whipped their butt. Slapping them around, and they'll still do it with him. Crazy. Well, he only does it when he's mad. Jesus Christ. At the same time, I give the judge some praise for not letting his butt out. Life is so precious. Don't let somebody abuse you. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. At the same time, I want to say this is important to me, as a lot of things are. I'm going to get into some sports too, but life is about sports. You know, politics is a sport. It's a big sport. I'm going to tell you, got some things coming up for the Big C team when it comes to real estate, to get your trust done, to protect your assets, especially you professional athletes, people coming at you from all sorts of reasons. Baby mama drama. People want to sue you because they know you play ball, and you're walking around with your pants down, no pun intended. You got to protect your estate. You can get a wills and trust that can do that, protect you from lawsuits. How do I do that, Big C? 800-772-8624. Call 800-772-8624. Call 800-772-8624. And tell them Big C sent you. If that makes sense to you, got a group of attorneys that will work with you and protect your estate, if that makes sense to you. And that's my story, and I'm taking with it. Also want to say, as part of a co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project in Northern California, and I really do believe that we are exceptional people, professionals with good morals as opposed to bad morals, all walks of life, and we're looking to get support for Senate Bill 490 that's sponsored by the number one senator of the United States, in my opinion, Senator Stephen Bradford out of California. It's already with the legislature, and the legislation will solidify repair and restoration to the exceptional people, descendants of formerly enslaved Africans and indigenous melanated people. Now, there's so much that can be talked about, but it's been a 3-year-long research and executive summary on AB 3121. The committee comprised recommendations. It was an 1,100-page task force findings, and there's about 12 laws that have been sent to the legislature, and there's a lot. So I want to make sure that I touched on that we're looking to ask these senators and congressmen, have you or your office read the Department of Justice AB 3121 report, or at least the executive summary? Number 2, will you and your party members vote yes to Senator Stephen Bradford's bill SB 490? And number 3, what resource or programs will you recommend for the SB 94 Freedmen's Bureau in California? Give that some praise. Even though some black people don't think they deserve anything from all the crap that happened to their ancestry, but yet they have the decency to get a life insurance policy. It's not about trying to please people. We've done that long enough. It's about going to the law and letting the law cite it in the law and give that some praise. Don't worry about what people don't think. It's almost like the abused woman, because usually the woman gets abused, being upset. Well, what happens if I call the police on the abuser? Call and find out. Hopefully the same thing will happen to him that's been happening to you. Getting your butt kicked! You don't deserve that. But if you're brainwashed, you'll keep dealing with them. Not everybody's going to beat you. It's so important. We ask for the support in the economic development of the exceptional people that have been over-policed, marginalized, raped, pillaged, neglected, unprotected, and deliberately disabled for far too long. We ask for your response within 3 weeks so we may spread the great news of contributing to SB 490, signed into law, as well as acknowledging and voting for the honorable men and women who so rightfully stand with our righteous and due is just cause. What did Dr. King say? He said the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And we need to get justice for us too. I want to give that praise. That was put together last night by Double O, and I really do appreciate the efforts because we all know we deserve reparations as descendants of chattel slavery, and people who've already benefited from the Homestead Act, they have to be Caucasian. They were the only ones allowed to get it. I know many people all over the country, different colors, and there's many white Americans can tell you how they got land or wills or property bequeathed down to them, money, heirlooms, all kind of things, business, because it was not illegal for them to have it. Black Americans weren't treated the same. Last thing I'll say before I get into a little bit of sports, and I love what I do at Big C Sports. I am not a sycophant. I'm not illiterate. I'm not always right about everything, but I ask you to Google what I say. I ask you to fact check what I say. Don't believe anything you hear me say unless you can verify it. Do that for everybody. That would make people get right, if that makes sense to you. I told you I'm coming out with a lie detector test. You can aim it at somebody and it makes them tell the truth, and if they're lying, me lightning strike. It shows up. You can tell when somebody's lying. I was trained by someone that's an expert in that. I ain't gonna say what it is, but it's there. I want to make sure that people can understand. Google AB 3121, Google HR 40, Google AB 490, because it's there for you to understand that these things are due and they're coming, and descendants of chattel slavery are going to start getting the just due that we deserve. We have to do that. Freedman's Bank, a lot of people don't even know what Freedman's Bank is, but it was created in March of 1865. It was to give money, a place for black Americans to put their money, because the white banks will not allow black Americans to put their money in the banks, even though it may have made some black people mad. They couldn't put their money in the banks. So the United States Congress created Freedman's Bank. It was called Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company. And Freedman's Bank, chartered by the United States Congress March 3rd of 1865, provided a place for former slaves to safely store their money. After several successful years in which Freedman deposited more than $60 million into the bank, it collapsed in 1874 as a result of mismanagement and fraud. The bank's failure not only robbed many African Americans of their entire life savings, but also had a severe psychological impact on them, causing many to give up hopes, and even for their great-great-grandchildren to believe they don't deserve anything. Think about that. The need for Freedman's Bank for black Americans became evident during the American Civil War. The African American soldiers in the Union Army who were often denied access to conventional banks. They were often taken advantage of by swindlers and squandered their pay as they received as a soldier. Think about what happened to them. This is so important. A board of 50 white trustees was named to manage the bank's affairs. And they stole the money! And some people think we don't deserve nothing. And they're black. Crazy. The bank would not allow black depositors to make a loan, to get a loan to buy a house or start a business or education. They let the money be invested by white people. And they stole everything. Congress set it up. You don't think Congress needs to repair that damage? Some people are just crazy. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Give heaven some knowledge, some praise. Now, as we stand up for the kickoff, I'm going to get into my thoughts on some things that are happening around the world of college football as we stand up for the kickoff. And I don't think this is necessarily going to happen, but there's some news that fans, and I was just talking about it ironically just a few days ago, there are fans in the country that believe that the national championship should be relocated from Houston, Texas to Pasadena, California. They're calling for a last-minute change for a national title game. I don't think it's going to happen, but the championship game is officially set for the 14-0 Michigan Wolverines and the 14-0 Washington Huskies. It's to be played on Monday night in Houston, Texas. And they'll meet for all the fixings. Monday at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. The Wolverines advanced to the title game by beating Alabama 27-20. Alabama's out of the SEC Conference. Michigan's out of the Big Ten. And they did it in overtime in the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Now, Washington, the champion of the Pac-12 Conference, they survived a late scare from number 3 Texas, the champion of the Big 12 Conference, and they beat Texas, scoring more points on Texas than anyone this year. It was 37-31, and it really should not have been that close, but the Huskies are trying to throw the ball in less than a minute. For what reason, I have no idea. 800 Gambler. But the national championship game matchup, it matches 2 historic brands against each other. It also appears a Big Ten team versus a Pac-12 team. It's the last time Washington will have a Pac-12 logo before moving to the Big Ten. Also, these 2 teams, the last time Washington won a championship, national championship, they beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl under the late, great Donnie James. The last time Michigan won a national championship, they also won their game at the Rose Bowl. So who's going to say that they should not play their final Big Ten Pac-12 matchup at the Rose Bowl? I believe they've been playing it since 1902. That time it was the Big Ten versus the Pac-8. But given the rich history of these 2 great college programs, I remember Bo Schembechler going up against Donnie James, the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. And now the last game played at the Rose Bowl with a Pac-12 team, I believe it was a UCLA game. That's their home stadium in Pasadena. But it would have been great had Washington been able to play their semifinal round in the Rose Bowl, because that's where the Pac-12 champion would always go. And the Big 12 champion would always go to the Rose Bowl. Should have been, rankings are rankings. It could have been Michigan versus Washington with a chance to win the Rose Bowl and go on and play for the national championship. But that didn't happen that way. But these college football programs, the college fans, they like to see a last-minute venue change. I don't think it's going to happen for the national title game to be played at the Rose Bowl instead of NRG Stadium in Houston. Now, there's already things that have been paid for and plans have been made years in advance. It's going to be in Houston. They're not going to move it. But it would be great to see the Huskies and the Wolverines duke it out one last time, Big Ten versus Pac-12, before they play each other in October, and they'll be both members of the Big Ten. But there's no way a Big Ten champion versus a Pac-12 champion in the last Pac-12 game should ever be played in Houston, Texas. In Texas? Doesn't make any sense. But that's what happens in sports. It's always about where the money goes. They've already paid for the venue in Texas at NRG Stadium. Unless the lights go out at NRG Stadium. It happened at the Superdome down in New Orleans when San Francisco played Baltimore in the Super Bowl. Unless the lights go out, I don't think they'll move this game from NRG Stadium to Pasadena. It would be great if they did. It's supposed to rain over the weekend in California, but I don't think it's going to rain on Monday. But what a great way to close out the Rose Bowl. The Pac-12 champion versus the Big Ten champion. That would be amazing. But it's not going to happen. Jim Harbaugh, he played at Michigan, actually played in the Rose Bowl. And then you have Coach DeBoer at Washington. I think along his coaching record, he coached at Fresno State also. But I think it's like 111 wins and 12 losses, something of that nature. He played at a smaller school before going into Fresno State and then having a chance at Washington. But he's a good coach, knows how to coach. He'll have the teams up and ready to play their best game. But I don't know who's going to win that game. And in my opinion, Washington, if they can throw the football the way they did against Texas, I got to believe that Texas defense is just as good as Michigan's defense. If Washington can throw over the top and force Michigan to play the long ball, they have the great receivers that play at Washington. Now, their tailback is a little bit banged up, but I'm sure they can have somebody come in. As long as Michael Penix II is healthy, that southpaw reminds me of Mark Brunell that played with Washington back in the day when they won their last national title. If he can get enough time to throw downfield, he throws the ball with such accuracy, he can thread a needle. He rarely gets sacked. He's also a running quarterback. He doesn't like to run a lot, but he has the ability to do that. He can give Michigan fits. I mean, he in my opinion, he should have won the Heisman Trophy. And he was run up to Jalen Daniels. I have no idea why. Because if you look at what he's done for the Huskies, he's carried that team. Even though their defense, they held Texas down. Texas got a late score. But that Washington offense, they scored the most points scored on Texas all year. They scored 37 against Texas. Texas went down to Alabama, held Alabama to 13 in Tuscaloosa. That same Alabama team got beat by Michigan 27-20 in overtime. But if you look at what Washington did in beating Texas 37-30 or 37-31, that's the same Texas team that beat Alabama 34-14. Oh, you know the SEC plays the best football. I've heard that garbage. But what did Jim Brown say when a friend was going to try to fight Jim Brown back in the day? He said, I'm going to mess up Jim Brown. Everybody let me go. I'm going to mess up Jim Brown. And Jim Brown said something that just chilled him out. Jim Brown said, gentlemen, I think if you let the man go, he can express himself a little better. And the man said, okay, everybody calm down. Don't nobody take everything off my body. Just ease me on off the door and don't start no mess with Jim Brown. And that's what the Pac-12 did, because it's been the Conference of Champions. You can Google it. All their sports combined. But there's some good old boys down south that think the SEC plays the best football. And it's not the case, because they sound a lot taller on the radio. But when they got a chance to play head-to-head, you see what happened. The Pac-12, I believe they have the best record in college football in the bowl games. They're 5-3. More wins than the SEC and fewer losses than the SEC. But when you control the national narrative, as a lot of the SEC pundits tend to do, then it's hard to get over the top. But at the same time, I want to give those colleges praise because they play really hard to get some silverware. That's called a National Championship Trophy. I wish them all the best. I am leaning right now towards Washington. I know Michigan has a great defense. Their offense is good, but I don't know if this offense is better than Texas' offense. Texas has a great offensive line, as good as Michigan's. They have a great defensive line, as good as Michigan. And Michigan's good. But Texas had a good chance. They dominated Alabama more than Michigan did. Michigan didn't really dominate Alabama. Alabama lost that game. But Washington jumped all over Michigan. They were up by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And then, the point spread stuff comes into play. Point spread, comes into play. But at the same time, you just want to say to these college kids, play with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. And give that some praise that you got NIL to go on and make money from your members like this. I want to get into the Big C's NBA power rankings. And I'm telling you, there's so much greatness about this NBA basketball. I hope they start championing reparations, because the NBA is about 80% African American. If they don't champion reparations, but they'll go buy some shoes. They go buy some shoes. They'll sell you a pair of shoes. But I hardly hear any NBA basketball players talk about reparations. Jaylen Brown said he wants to establish the Black Wall Street in Boston. And since that, I haven't heard him say much. They probably told him, shut up. But I hope Adam Silver really stands behind those beautiful black athletes that made him a multi-millionaire. And counting. And, oh my God, I'm going to have a letter written to Senator Stephen Bradford and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, and ask them, do they support California Senator Stephen Bradford and his bill for AB 490 for reparations for descendants of child slavery that make up 80% of the NBA and 70% of the NFL. How dare you not champion reparations? Let them say yes or no. You got to know who's on your side. Some people will look you right in the eye and they'll lie to you. I didn't do that. Knowing they're just lying to you. And God knows they're lying too, but they'll lie to you anyway because they don't respect you. But do you support reparations? Yes or no? Because you got black men making you a multi-billion-dollar industry. And you don't even respect where they come from, which you come from them also. All life began on the African continent, according to Dr. Leaking Rick Remendo. But these NFL and NBA commissioners, and even Manfred from Major League Baseball, are you pro reparations? Are you pro reparations for descendants of child slavery? Because the athletes that make you multiple millions of dollars, it's for their ancestry and their children and their brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews and grandparents and mothers and fathers. Not everybody signs a multiple million-dollar contract to play sports. But it's more than just money. It's for health care, housing, land, free education, no taxes, land given back, being able to get the best health care that money can buy. You know, that happened to white Americans in this country during slavery. We didn't have the same opportunities. So the NFL and the NBA, you make so much money on the backs of black athletes. Do you stand for reparations? And if you don't, just say you don't. But if you do, say you do. And give that some praise. Which line are you in? NBA Power Rankings. It's just my thought. And everybody has their own thoughts about it. But when I think about it, NBA basketball is fantastic. It'd be even more better. It'd be more better if they start championing reparations. And I believe they will follow what Jaylen Brown did before he was told to shut up for the Boston Celtics. So 2024 teams are trying to get into the new year and battle for the top spots in the Eastern and Western Conference. Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers have stopped a post-in-season tournament slide, defeating the Milwaukee Bucks 3 times this season as their budding rivalry continues. And the Sacramento Kings have climbed back into the top 10 after an up-and-down December. A few stars are making their way back from the injuries. The great Kyrie Irving, and he returns for the Dallas Mavericks. The great Kawhi Leonard returns for the LA Clippers, and the great Bradley Beal, he returns for the Phoenix Suns. But as the NBA trade line approaches in February, teams are starting to reevaluate their needs. What teams are missing in their lineups? Who's got it better than us? Who will make a blockbuster trade? And which star needs a change of scenery? You think about so many great players in the NBA, and everybody's looking for a position or a chance to try to climb that mountain and become the NBA Eastern Conference and Western Conference champion. I'm going to do Big C's top 10 NBA basketball power rankings is my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. But I do have a request. It may fall on deaf ears, but you can't say you didn't hear it when you follow Big C Sports. I'm asking for these teams and these owners to say, what are your thoughts on reparations? And people need to know, what are your thoughts on reparations? It should not be anathema to talk about your thoughts on reparations, because your teams are filled with black bodies, beautiful bronze black bodies, running up and down the court, making you even more money. More money. But what do you feel about the ancestry? Number 10, Big C's NBA Power Rankings. I have the Dallas Mavericks. Their next game's coming up versus Portland. And then they have 2 games against Portland back-to-back. And then they have a game against Minnesota and Memphis. But I got them as number 10 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. I have number 9 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. But I want to know their thoughts on reparations. The Miami Heat, when you think about how good they are, their next game at the LA Lakers, that already happened yesterday. They play Phoenix and then Houston coming up in the next couple of games. What are their thoughts on reparations for the Miami Heat? Number 8, the Sacramento Kings. And their game, they beat Orlando last night in double overtime. They have a game coming up versus Toronto and also New Orleans coming up in their next couple of games. What are their thoughts on reparations with Vivek Ranadive? I got number 7 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. The Los Angeles Clippers. What are their thoughts on reparations? They got games at Phoenix. Already played that last night. They have New Orleans coming up, and then the LA Lakers want to get their thoughts on reparations. And then in Big C's NBA Power Rankings, I got number 6, Philadelphia 76ers. Games versus New York. And then also Utah coming up very soon, right around the corner. What are their thoughts on reparations? I got in Big C's NBA Power Rankings, number 5, the defending champion Denver Nuggets. What are their thoughts on reparations? Next game's at Golden State tonight, and then versus Orlando coming up very shortly. What are their thoughts on reparations for the Denver Nuggets? I got the next team, number 4, Oklahoma City Thunder. And what are their thoughts on reparations? Next game at Atlanta. They already did that last night. Now, next, they're at Brooklyn and then Washington. But what are their thoughts on reparations? The Oklahoma City Thunder, you know the Black Wall Street in Tulsa got the Tulsa Massacre. What are their thoughts on reparations to make things right? And then I got number 3 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are a dominant team. Their next game is versus they played last night versus New Orleans. They're at Houston tomorrow. And then they have a game against Dallas. But I want to know, what are their thoughts on reparations? It's important to know. It should not offend anyone to be pro-reparations when mostly black men make the NBA a fortune. I got number 2 of Big C's NBA Power Rankings, the Milwaukee Bucks. And their games, they already played Indiana last night. Next game at San Antonio. And then at Houston. But what are their thoughts on reparations? Could you imagine Giannis Antetokounmpo coming out with the Milwaukee Bucks ownership saying, we support reparations, we support California Senator Stephen Bradford on AB 490. And just as it maybe lines up, I told you only Jaylen Brown for the Boston Celtics has talked about the Black Wall Street coming to Boston when they asked him what's he going to do with that massive contract that he signed. He said he's going to bring the Black Wall Street to Boston. Yeah, Boston. And it's been kind of quiet since. I talked to Jaylen Brown's dad on Big C Sports last year. He believes in reparations. Isn't that something? I believe it. It's going to happen. Because Marcellus Brown is his father. And he believes in reparations. So does Dwayne Wade's dad. Dwayne Wade Sr., he believes in reparations. Had them both on my program last year. So number 1 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings, I got the Boston Celtics. Havlicek inbounds to Russell. Russell throws up to Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge over to Larry Bird. Larry Bird over to Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum for 3. Do you believe in reparations? I believe they do. Boston, next game, playing Utah. Also got a game at Indiana coming up, a back-to-back against Indiana. But I want to tell you, no matter what people think, give Big C Sports some praise. I'm one beautiful, intelligent black man. I do the best I can to elucidate a subject. And I'm so passionate about reparations because I'm partly co-chair of the Sacramento chapter of Northern California for the National Black Wall Street Project. And we're headed by the inimitable Reverend Tony Pierce, President and CEO of the National Black Wall Street Project. Also with Double O and also with Brother Aleem Shabazz. We're doing what we can to get the dialogue going with the Black Caucus, with the Black Chamber of Commerce. And we're asking for support from our white brethren as well to be a part of this push for justice. We all talk about how we love Dr. King when he had that quote that said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And we want to see justice happen. And it's going to happen because we're here to make it happen. And I want to give that some praise. If you're looking for work in your real estate or insurance, 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. Tell them Big C sent you. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, on this beautiful day, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start drinking and driving. The life you used to say may be your own or someone you love. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Yeah, Big C, you didn't honor your show. Yeah, that's right. I want to say for everyone who follows Big C Sports all around the world, I want to thank you for following Big C Sports. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day. Well, wait a minute, Big C, you didn't honor Jubal Didi Brown. That's right. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Jubal Didi Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I hear Big C Sports, I want to say reparations now, reparations forever. It's a mantra. It's one word. Do you believe in reparations? Yes or no? No more shucking and jiving. It's happened for other groups, and now it's our turn. And because it's our turn, I want to ask everyone, as you stand up for the kickoff, as we honor America's 16th president, the only one that ever passed reparations to the descendants of chattel slavery, President Abraham Lincoln. And I believe his cry for President Biden and Congress is to say, do you believe in reparations? Say reparations now, reparations forever. I asked the NBA and the NFL and Major League Baseball, when President Abraham Lincoln passed the Emancipation Proclamation and was offering reparations for the descendants of chattel slavery, do you believe he was right? Do you believe in reparations? Reparations now, reparations forever. You know, when slaves were freed, President Abraham gave reparations to the slave owners. What? Yeah, for lost free labor. He gave the slave owners reparations. He was going to do some Black Americans next. Here's our chance to make what was wrong right. Do you believe in reparations? Say reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day.